All right, the name of my book is The Giving Tree. The author and illustrator are Shel Silverstein. The genre is fiction, and the publisher and the publication date is Harper and Row Publishers, 1964. This is a story about a boy and a tree, and they develop this relationship, and the boy is always going and getting things from the tree. And every time the little boy goes to the tree is happy. Everything that the tree gives to the little boy makes the tree happy. Everything the tree gives to the little boy, it makes the tree happy. So as the boy is growing up, he goes from a little boy to a teenager and then to an adult and an elderly man. But the whole time the tree is always referring to him as a boy. My first activity that I do with this book is the pre-reading activity, and we preview and we predict. I'm using this book with 5th grade. This is a book that most of the kids have already read in younger grades, and that's why I find that it's a good book that we can really dig deep into and learn more about it. So the first thing that I do is we go and we look at the title, we look at the pictures on the front, and then we go through the book and we look at the various pictures throughout the book, and we predict what we think is going to happen throughout the book. The next thing that I do is I read the students the book, and we talk about the main idea and the text structure of the book. I give my students this sheet here, and we do closed reading activities. The second reading of the book, I give my students a copy of the book on paper, and I have my students read through this with a partner. And while they are reading through this with a partner, I have them look for certain things in the text. They are going to be looking for the author's purpose, and they have to write a gist of what this book is about all throughout the story. So they're going to read through this, and then I also give them this little bookmark that has some annotation symbols on it. So as they're reading, they are going to have to annotate their text. So if they are looking for important details, they're going to underline them. They're going to circle key words. They're going to draw a squiggly line under unfamiliar words. They're going to star the main idea, and then they'll draw a little line with an arrow on any of the comments that they have, and then evidence to an answer that for questions that I give them, they will highlight, but they won't do that part during the second reading. They'll do that during the third. So as they're reading during the second reading, they are going to go through there, and this is a student copy of what my students did. They read through the paragraphs, and they had to write a gist, just what they thought that this paragraph, just a summary of each paragraph. And then they had to go through, and you can notice that they starred where it was the main idea. They underlined key points in the text, and they circled any unfamiliar words that they were not sure about. All right, so then I gave them a second partner, and I told them that this would be the third time that they read. And then this time I also gave them questions that I wanted them to answer as they were reading the text. So the questions that I gave them were, why do you think the tree is given the pronoun she? How might the book be different if the tree were referred to as a he or an it? What do you think the boy's life is like when he's away from the tree? We only see him when he comes to visit the tree. What do you suppose is going on when he's somewhere else? And then number 3, we are told 5 times in the book that the tree was happy. What is it exactly that seems to make the tree happy? And why are we never told that the boy was happy? Is the boy ever happy? And how can you tell? That's just a few of the questions that I had for my students. I had about 7 questions that I wanted them to answer as they were reading the text. So as they read the text, I had them highlight the answers to the text, and then they would write the number of the question beside that. After they read, we came back together as a whole group, and we talked about the theme of the book. What did they feel that the theme of this book was? So my students felt that the theme of this book well, most of them anyway, felt that the theme of this book was unconditional love. They talked about how the tree was always given to the boy, and so that the tree was always happy because of that. We also talked about how that it could be gender roles too, about how this tree is portrayed as a woman. We talked about how that women are supposed to stay at home. That's how people portrayed them during that time period. And also, a lot of them thought that maybe this was like a mother figure to the little boy. And moms are always given to their children, and kids are not so good at giving back to their parents. They just keep asking, and they don't really ever give anything in return. And we also talked about environmentalism, how the tree has given the boy everything, and about resources. This is a resource that we can't get back because you've taken all the apples, you've cut the limbs off of the tree, and you've cut it all the way down to a stump. So those were a few of the things that we talked about on the theme of the book after we came back together, after we had done all of the reading. And then we also discussed the answers to all of the questions that we had. And the kids had a little bit of a hard time at first answering the question about why do you think that the tree was given the pronoun of she. And we really had to talk about how maybe that was like a mother figure to the little boy. And then we talked about what they thought that the boy's life was like outside of the book when it was not with the tree. And they had some great ideas about what the little boy did as he grew up, and we talked about those things. And then we talked about how it said repeatedly that the tree was happy all throughout the book, and we talked about why the tree was happy, and we talked about because the little boy was coming to visit the tree, that made the tree happy, just as like a parent-child relationship. As kids grow up, they don't spend as much time with their parents, and the parents are just glad to see them when they come home. And that's what we talked about. And then we talked about the kind of relationship that the tree and the little boy had, and we characterized the relationship as a pretty good relationship for both of them, but it was more one-sided. The boy got more out of it than the tree. But then the kids wanted to go back and talk about how, but the tree was always happy. And that just brought back to the parent-child relationship that even though the parents weren't getting as much, they're happy just to spend time with their kids. One of the most important things to do when giving reading instruction is to make sure that you are using research-based instructional methods. And I think that the most important reason to do that is because these have been studied and proven that they work with students, and students are more likely to be able to improve in their reading if you use these strategies. So all of the strategies that I've used with my students in this lesson are activities that have been proven to be successful in teaching my pre-reading activities of predicting, and then my during reading activities, and also my after reading activities.